You see them everywhere. On tattoos, on necklaces, on military hats, on sports jerseys, on flags hanging from balconies, on shirts sold in airports and roadside shops. Most people wear them with pride. Many people never stop to ask what they truly represent. But very few know what these symbols have actually witnessed. One began beneath the stars of the world's oldest continuing cultures. Another was raised only days before men died beneath it. One became a sign of military sacrifice. Another was turned into a souvenir, even though its true meaning reaches back thousands of years. And one symbol has been claimed by people who believe completely opposite things. These are not just decorations. They carry stories of survival, rebellion, blood, memory, land, grief, and belonging. Some are never meant to be worn casually. Some are never meant to be sold at all. And the final symbol may be the most misunderstood of them all, because over time it has represented loyalty, freedom, war, rebellion, national pride, and even fear. So before you wear one again, look closely. Because a symbol can be small enough to fit around your neck, but the story trapped inside, it can be larger than a nation. The first symbol seems harmless. You have probably seen it on keyrings, earrings, hats, and tourist shirts. The boomerang. To most people, the meaning is simple. You throw it, and it comes back. That idea has become so familiar that the boomerang is now used as a symbol for anything that returns. A returning customer, a returning message, a returning memory. But that is only the surface. The truth is more surprising. Most traditional boomerangs were not made to return. Many were heavier, straighter, and built for completely different purposes. They were used for hunting, digging, fighting, ceremony, music, and trade. Some could strike with terrifying force. Others were carefully shaped for a specific landscape, animal, or task. The returning boomerang, the one that amazed visitors, was only one form among many. But over time, the deeper story was flattened into a trick. Throw it, watch it spin, catch it, buy one at the gift shop. The object became famous, while much of the knowledge behind it was forgotten. And that is where the mystery begins. For Aboriginal peoples, a boomerang was never just a clever piece of wood. It could carry knowledge of trees, wind, animals, balance, sound, and country. It could be practical, ceremonial, or deeply personal. Imagine the difference between a cheap plastic souvenir and an object shaped by hand, made for a specific purpose, and understood through generations. They may look similar from a distance, but they're not the same thing. One is a product. The other is memory made solid. And this is the first warning hidden inside Australian symbols. Sometimes the modern image is not false. It is simply incomplete. The next symbol looks even more familiar. The kangaroo and the emu. They stand beside the shield on Australia's coat of arms. They appear on government buildings, clothing, coins, sporting merchandise, badges, and official documents. Most people assume they were chosen because they are uniquely Australian. That is true, but it is not the whole reason. The kangaroo and emu are often said to represent a nation moving forward, because neither animal moves backward easily. Think about that. Two animals standing on either side of shield, holding the dream of an entire country between them. Forward, not backward. Progress, not retreat. It sounds simple, almost inspiring. But symbols do not only tell us what a nation is. They often reveal what a nation wants to believe about itself. A country can place the idea of progress on its coat of arms. But history still asks a harder question. Progress for whom? That question does not destroy the symbol. It deepens it. The kangaroo and emu represent an ideal, a promise, a direction. But every generation must decide whether it is truly moving forward or simply repeating old mistakes under a new name. And there is another detail many people never notice. Beneath them is golden wattle. At first, it looks decorative, a soft border of leaves and flowers. But this plant carries far more weight than it appears to. Golden wattle is Australia's national floral emblem. Its green leaves and golden flowers helped inspire the colors now worn in stadiums around the world. Green and gold, the colors of national pride. the colors of athletes carrying the hopes of millions. But before they filled stadiums, these colors grew quietly in the bush. Wattle survives harsh conditions: drought, heat, fire, poor soil. It can disappear into smoke and return again. That alone made it a powerful symbol. But its story became even more emotional during war. Wattle sprigs and badges were sold to support the war effort. People wore them in memory of Australians serving far from home. For some families, the small golden flower became connected to waiting. Waiting for a letter. Waiting for footsteps at the door. Waiting for someone who might never return. Picture a mother pinning a small piece of wattle to her clothing. To someone passing in the street, it was only a flower. To her, it may have represented a son somewhere across the sea, still alive, missing, or already gone. That is the strange power of symbols. They allow people to carry what cannot be spoken. Today, wattle can appear at citizenship ceremonies, celebrations, sporting events, and memorials. The same flower can mean joy to one person, grief to another, and belonging to someone who has only just begun calling Australia home. But the next symbol carries the weight of service more openly. You may have seen it on the front of a slouch hat, a curved shape filled with sharp points, rising beneath a crown. The rising sun badge. At first glance, it seems obvious. The points look like rays of sunlight breaking over the horizon. A new day, a new country, a new beginning. But its origin is more unsettling. The design is widely connected to a trophy made from swords and bayonets arranged in a semicircle. Not rays of light. Weapons. Metal blades spreading outward like the edge of sun. The badge dates back to the early years after Federation and was issued to Australian troops. Over time, it became one of the most recognized symbols of the Australian Army. And with every conflict, its meaning changed. It was no longer only a design. It became attached to people. Young men leaving home. Families standing at railway stations. Letters written in mud, dust, cold, and fear. Soldiers carrying memories they would never explain when they returned. Others never returned at all. Imagine an old slouch hat resting inside a wooden box. The fabric is faded. The brim has lost its shape. The badge is scratched. To a stranger, it is just an antique. To a family, it might be the last object touched by someone whose voice has been gone for 70 years. That is why the Rising Sun badge is not simply a patriotic logo. It is tied to service, duty, loss, and a long shadow war leaves behind. When people wear it, they may believe they are wearing strength. But beneath that strength is grief. Beneath the metal is memory. And beneath the memory are names. The next symbol came from a very different struggle. It was not created by the military. It was not chosen by a government committee. It was designed by one man to represent a people whose presence had been ignored for too long. The Aboriginal flag. Black, red, yellow. Simple colors. Powerful meaning. The black represents Aboriginal people. The red represents the earth, the ochre, and the deep connection to land. The yellow circle represents the sun. But the flag is more than the sum of its colors. It was designed by Lyrica artist Harold Thomas in 1970. It was first raised publicly in 1971 at a land rights rally in Adelaide. Think about what that means. This symbol did not first rise above a quiet ceremony. It rose during a demand to be seen, a demand to be heard, a demand for rights, recognition, and land. For many people, wearing this flag is not just an expression of Australian pride. It is a statement of survival. It says, we are still here. Our culture is not a chapter that ended. Our connection to country is not a story from the past. It is living. It is present. It continues. That makes the symbol powerful. But it also means it should not be treated like an empty pattern. The colors carry identity. The design carries struggle. The flag carries the memory of generations who endured removal, silence, exclusion, and attempts to erase what could not be erased. A person may wear it as a badge of solidarity. Another may wear it as family identity. Another may see it and remember protest, pride, pain, or hope. The same image can hold all of these things at once. And then we reach a flag that is even more contested. A flag that was born in resistance. A flag that flew over angry men who believed the system had become unbearable. The Eureka Flag. Today, you can see it on shirts, tattoos, union banners, protest signs, stickers, and jackets. But in 1854, it flew above a stockade on the Ballarat goldfields. Miners were furious. They faced expensive license fees, aggressive inspections, and a colonial government they believed treated them like criminals. Tension grew. Meetings became larger. Anger became organized. And then a flag appeared. Blue, with a white cross and stars. The Southern Cross. It was raised as a symbol of unity and resistance. But only days later, government forces attacked the stockade. The battle was short, violent, confused. Men died beneath the flag. The flag was torn down. And yet the symbol survived. That is the strange thing about bloodshed. Sometimes it destroys a movement. Sometimes it gives the movement a memory that refuses to die. The Eureka Flag became associated with miners' rights, democratic reform, organized labor, and resistance to authority. For some, it became a symbol of ordinary people standing against power. But history did not leave it there. Over time, completely different groups began using it. Workers, Republicans, nationalists, anti-government movements, protesters, people on the political left, people on the political right, even far-right groups. And suddenly, the same flag could send very different messages depending on who held it. That is what makes the Eureka Flag so unsettling. Two people can wear the same symbol and mean opposite things. One may see democracy. Another may see rebellion. One may see workers' rights. Another may see aggressive nationalism. The flag itself has not changed, but the story around it has fractured, and that leads to a dangerous truth. Symbols do not control the people who use them. People control the meaning others receive. That is why context matters. A symbol can be inherited. It can be honored. It can also be taken, twisted, and used for something its creators may never have imagined. But the stars on the Eureka Flag were already ancient before the miners raised them. They belonged to the southern sky. And now we reach the most powerful symbol of all, the Southern Cross. It appears on tattoos, necklaces, shirts, flags, sportswear, military emblems, car stickers, and national celebrations. For many Australians, it simply means home. But the Southern Cross has never carried only one story. Long before European ships arrived, First Nations peoples looked into the southern sky and saw meaning. Different communities held different stories and understandings of the stars. There was no single interpretation. The sky was part of culture, knowledge, direction, season, law, and memory. The stars were not deadlights. They were alive with story. Then European sailors entered the southern oceans. To them, the Southern Cross became a guide, a marker in an unfamiliar sky, something that helped them navigate when the world they knew had disappeared beyond the horizon. Later, the constellation appeared on proposed flags and national emblems. Sometimes it stood beside the Union Jack, expressing loyalty to Britain and the Crown. But at Eureka, those same stars appeared without the Union Jack. Now, they meant resistance, independence, defiance. The constellation had not moved. Only the people beneath it had changed. Later, trade unions used it. Soldiers carried it. Athletes wore it. Migrants adopted it. Families tattooed it onto their skin. For some, it became a promise. This is my home. I belong here. But because the symbol was so powerful, it was also used in darker ways. At times, it became associated with aggressive nationalism and exclusion. The same stars that welcomed one person could be used to tell another person they did not belong. And that is what makes the Southern Cross the most misunderstood symbol on this list. It is not pure. It is layered. It carries ancient knowledge, navigation, colonization, rebellion, labor, war, pride, migration, sport, grief, and conflict. It can be worn with love. It can be worn with anger. It can be worn with no understanding at all. The symbol does not speak by itself. The wearer gives it a voice. So when you see the Southern Cross on someone's skin, around their neck, or across their chest, you're not looking at one meaning. You are looking at thousands of years of meaning pressed into 5 stars. That is the final revelation. Australian symbols are not silent. They remember what people forget. The boomerang remembers knowledge that existed before it became a souvenir. The kangaroo and emu remember the promise of a country moving forward. Golden wattle remembers fire, renewal, celebration, and loss. The rising sun badge remembers service, sacrifice, and families left waiting. The Aboriginal flag remembers survival, identity, land, and the refusal to disappear. The Eureka Flag remembers rebellion, bloodshed, and the danger of a symbol being claimed by competing causes. And the Southern Cross remembers almost everything. Ancient stories, foreign ships, goldfield anger, military service, national pride, belonging, and fear. A symbol may look small enough to place on a shirt, a hat, a ring, or a tattoo. But history does not become small just because we wear it. Once you understand the story, you do not necessarily have to stop wearing the symbol. You simply wear it differently, with awareness, with respect, and perhaps with a little more caution. Now look around you. Which of these symbols have you worn without knowing its full meaning? And which Australian symbol do you think carries an even deeper story than people realize? Tell us in the comments. And if you enjoy uncovering the hidden history behind the things people see every day, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because Australia is filled with stories hiding in plain sight. And some of the most powerful ones are already being worn.